everybody, Alex Terrace back again with another infrared sauna review. This company is called Good Health Saunas. Been around a little while. So if you don't know about me, by the way, I'm a infrared sauna broker. There's not many in the industry. I've been in this over 12 years, so I'm a dealer. It means I sell many brands of saunas, which means I have a very unbiased, big perspective. And my job essentially is to just help people figure out what's really going to work for them at the end of the day. Everybody's different. They have all kinds of different needs, goals, financials, you name it, right? So my email address is below. Honestly, the best way to just reach out and say, hey, I got a question. I'm looking at this or this. I reach back and, there's no pressure on anything. I just provide information. So you just ask your questions and it's not going to cost you anything. So anyways, you can find them below in the description. Anyways, let's get into it. So Good Health Saunas, again, been around a while. They advertise, etc. You may have run across them. So by the way, you see a little schedule your consultation up here in the right-hand corner. So I just want to just share one thing that, when you talk to a sales rep from a company, this company or any company for that matter, just remember that their job, if you're, and I'm just saying this because infrared saunas and shopping for them is confusing, of course, overwhelming. And part of the reason it's overwhelming is because all these people are trying to do their job, right? So when you call and schedule your consultation, like they're going to consult you into trying to be convinced that Good Health Saunas is the sauna to buy. You see what I'm saying? So it's their job. They get paid to do that. Obviously, a little biased. So I just something to keep in mind. Not that it's super helpful when you talk to these people or any company for that matter, because theirs is always the best, right? So they do a couple little things here. So I'm going to go on the back screen, and we're really going to kind of basically go into emitters, heaters, and what makes them, what they are, what might be useful or not useful. So in this case, this is a little confusing. Good Health Saunas Hybrid Series, okay? So normally in the industry, when you see the term hybrid sauna, usually it means, as far as other options go out there and in the past, that there is kind of like a high hot rock sauna. It's like a rock sauna, traditional Finnish sort of sauna, with a electric space heater. Gets very hot, 190 degrees, 180 degrees, 200 degrees, very hot, right? We all know what that is, traditional sauna. So that's usually what it means when it's hybrid, where you have that sort of system in there along with infrared. Okay, so you got infrared and then you got just traditional dry hot heat sauna. And in those types of hybrid saunas, you have to choose what type of heating system you want to use at one time. So if you're like, oh, I want to do an infrared sauna session today. Okay, cool. So that's how you set it, right? Oh, I feel like doing a traditional higher temperature traditional sauna today. Okay, so then you just do that. You can't do them at the same time for electrical reasons, but mainly the main reason is because usually the higher hot temperature of the cabin might cause the infrared portion of the sauna to dysfunction. I'll just leave it at that. Anyways, that's normally what a hybrid sauna means. In this case, I guess it's still a fair term because they basically have put in some additional types of emitters in here. Emitters are the heaters that produce infrared. That's what that term is, by the way. Emitters, if you see that, okay? So what do they mean? So what is producing the far infrared, according to them, is going to be the carbon emitters on the walls. We've all seen these. They're very popular, saunas that have carbon type panels or emitters on the walls. Carbon emitters are great. They're really, really good for helping. They produce an infrared spectrum that is very more in the longer wave range, but your body absorbs the energy of that very well. So you absorb a lot of that energy. So they're great for warming the body. So when you really look at the wavelength curve, though, that shows you all the wavelengths, there is some additional things beyond long wave. Okay, so it does also include technically a little bit of a good amount of mid and near, a much smaller amount of near though. But and you get predominantly a little bit more in the longer wave range. I'm just saying that because right off the bat, there are several companies that do this, not just Good Health Saunas, but when they phrase a type of emitter as full spectrum, something specific, and sometimes it's a little confusing because technically, again, when you look at a carbon heater, and you look at all the wavelengths that it's been analyzed to produce, you would kind of consider it technically pretty full spectrum. So it's kind of up for, it's not really like a precise scientific term, because like a spectrum is composed of a lot of different wavelengths, right? So like how full is it? You see what I'm saying? Like it's not really specific. There's a little bit here in this percentage, there's a little over here, there's a little over here, but it's true. And so now that's even more true full spectrum. Like, is there fake, false full spectrum? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the whole industry it can be absolutely very confusing, and I feel for all the consumers that are in the thick of it right now. So just ignore these terms, honestly. I mean, for real. And then you have to do some deeper digging. So, anyways, according to them, though, mainly your far infrared is going to be coming from the carbons. All right, what about mid-infrared? Because very few sauna companies talk about mid-infrared. I would say actually the first company that talked about it was Sunlight and Saunas in 2011 with their M-Pulse full spectrum sauna. In the case of throwing around those terms, I think it's much more backed up. And now I have a video on my channel. If you go to my, right on my name, my YouTube channel, and you look at my other video prior to this one, I did another video on Sunlight, and I used to do a bunch of videos on them many years ago. So I did a long-winded one, really long, on technical breakdown of the Sunlight and M-Pulse. So if you are curious on that and you want to see why that one's maybe a little more full spectrum and deserves that term, it is quite unique. So I do sell that. I sell many companies. If you want a great price on anything, you always just run by me what you're looking at. So get into it, mid-range. So the mid-range, they are correct. That is generally the infrared wavelengths between 1400 and 3000 nanometers. Okay. And they say that it penetrates deeper than near infrared and generates more heat than far infrared. So the first term here, it penetrates deeper than near infrared. I'm going to, by the way, put a link below in the description that basically is going to go more deeply into the science of this if you really want to know, because there absolutely is like facts, objective testing data, lots of research going back many, many years to kind of pick all this apart here. I've looked into all that. Don't get overwhelmed, but for those who have that type of mind and you really want to like figure out what the heck they're talking about here, if it's true, if it's not true, there is a great article below that I put in the description. You can open up that link. Anyways, so like even this statement right here, it penetrates deeper than near infrared. Like, this is true and not really true. That's basically, that's all I could tell you. They're oversimplifying it, that is for sure. Okay, so even though there's a lot of debate between like red light, like a visible red light, like a red light bulb or a red LED, and all the way going into near infrared range, even there's a lot of research data showing that the near infrared and a visible light red, okay, which is quite different than near infrared, even that can be almost identical in the depth of penetration. So anyways, when you see these terms and if you see companies kind of throwing that around, it's just not that clear cut. And I'll kind of show you also the layout of the sauna, why this statement right here is not. Anyways, we'll get to that in just a second here. But basically, like it's even kind of something that's even less clear when you see the way it's laid out in the sauna, the different emitter, okay? So mid-infrared light therapy is great for improving blood circulation and improving the recovery of injured, inflamed areas. So then you're thinking like, oh, okay, and you might be one of these people who are like, I have an injury or I have an inflammation or my blood circulation is really poor. Okay, so it's tricky, their goal is to try to sell you, obviously on the sauna, right? So as it reads right now, if you're one of these people, you're thinking, you know what, I think I need a little mid-range and a little mid-infrared, right? That's what you're thinking. Okay, well, hold up there. Hold on a second. Because far infrared, okay, the longer portion of the spectrum, which again, yes, carbon emitters are really good for that, and there's other emitters out there too that are really good. They're also fantastic for improving blood circulation improving recovery, and so on and so forth. Okay, they're also great for that. Okay, why? Why is it also good for that? Well, it is covered in that article in the link below in the description, but I'll give you the really quick synopsis. Is that infrared? Okay, when it actually penetrates into the tissues of the body, it interacts with cells, and a photochemical response happens. What does that mean? I'll make it simple. Basically, it means that it goes from light penetrates the cell, right? And then it elicits a chemical, like a metabolic chemical response, okay, an effect. And it's those metabolic chemical molecular sort of effects in the body is what gives you most of the benefits, okay? What is it? Then let's take it a step further. So what does that mean? That means that as those like good things, those changes that happen metabolically, a lot of those, it also produces beneficial chemical compounds in the body, and that circulates, okay? It goes into your circulation, okay? What does that mean? That means that don't you have circulation all over the body and also to greater depths, right? Greater depths of tissue, like the organs even. Absolutely, you have a circulatory system that goes everywhere. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that if you're basically getting far infrared or near infrared or even visible red and so on and so forth, that basically whether it's superficial or 10% more penetration, whatever, based on the studies, it's not really that much a lot of times depending on the study or research you're looking at. All that means is that basically your whole body is going to experience benefits because of your circulatory system. Okay, so again, you can get benefits to inflamed tissues, injured, deep muscles, organs, whatever, okay, with far infrared, mid infrared, and near infrared, okay? And so when I talk about like what I just explained to you and I oversimplified it, that's based off over 5,000 clinical research studies. That's in the field of photobiomodulation. That's the term you can look up, photobiomodulation. I'll put it in the description below. So there's a lot of studies that basically back all that up, and that basically it's the changes that happen photochemically, and then they can circulate all over the body. Okay, so why I'm bringing that up again is because now that you know that, this statement also just carries less significance, right? Okay, so they're trying to sell you on this whole idea of like mid-infrared from their heater, like basically, being able to get to areas of the body better than something else. Long story short, it's just not a very good statement. Okay, based on all the reasons I just described, it's not really as valuable as they're making it sound. Long story short. Okay, so moving on. Now let's look at where they put this magical mid-infrared light. Okay, because if it is so superior, which is not, but if it was hypothetically so superior, what also then matters is where your body is receiving the energy. In other words, let's just get right to it, okay? Here we are chillaxing in Good Health Saunas, right? Having a good time, laughing, looking up into the corner. All right, so where are they putting this great mid-infrared heater? They have a little dot right here. You see that? You see her calf, you see her leg, and then you see it go over here into the bracket. Okay, lab tested, which is great. I mean, they do have a third-party test, whatever, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Mid-infrared ceramic heating element. Okay, so it's right there, behind the calf, right there. Okay, all right. So let's hold up. Let's think logically about this for a second. Can you tell me if this, let's say this heater, was super special and it did all these amazing things. Let's just hypothetically imagine that to be true. Okay. If that's the case and it's sending out these magical rays right here, what part of the body is going to benefit most, okay, from that greater depth of penetration? okay, that is producing better heat or more heat than far infrared and improving better blood circulation, all these things. What part of the body is it mainly going to treat? Okay, it's going to be the calf, right? Low down on the calf. You see that? Is that really the best place for it? What about the entire rest of the body here? I mean, look how big the leg is. Look how big the torso is. Look, you got your whole backside. Look how big she is. I mean, come on. So, in other words, that's, generally this whole area, you want to try to absorb of much of the infrared rays as you can, right? Okay, well, they just stick this thing right here. So, not really the best place. Okay, they obviously don't really think mid-infrared is that great. Now, if it does shine here on your calf, right, and you have circulatory system, obviously going to your feet, going to your calves, will this have a systemic effect on your body? Absolutely. Yeah, you can shine something much, much smaller with much less power than this, okay, according to the studies, and shine it anywhere on her body. And as long as she's got circulation, you're going to have some changes in the body, which is pretty cool. It's good to know. However, my point before is that you could maybe get more out of this thing, more potential benefits, if you were irradiating, okay, a larger surface area of the body. That was my only point, okay. But what they're trying to convince you of is that it has unique physiological health benefits, okay, in this range right there. Got it? Okay, they're trying to convince you that it's got unique benefits, health benefits in this range, and thus, based on that, which is not really backed up by any research, if you shine it on the back of your calf, that's going to somehow translate to all these unique health benefits here. It's just not the case. So, I wish it was, because that would be really convenient. Just sticking it there and getting all those effects. Now, is it helpful for some people to have a heater? Because you do see other saunas out there with calf heaters. There's many saunas that have that. You can see in the photos from other brands that have a calf heater that have basically some type of emitter behind there. It might be ceramic, might be carbon, whatever. It's the only conclusion that you need to make about the positioning of a heater back here is you don't have to have it if you have at least a floor heater, okay, where there's an infrared heater, because your body actually, if you were to choose between your calf and your feet, I would personally choose my feet in terms of where I would want an infrared heater or an infrared emitter, because your feet actually contain some unique vasculature down there to move blood more efficiently. Long story short, okay. And there's a little bit more to the feet too, with reflexology and all these other things. But so, have you ever heard of people walking on hot coals? How can people walk on hot coals? Okay, anybody can walk on hot coals. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You can look up videos. And the reason that it's possible is because the body is so efficient at moving blood through the capillaries and the vasculature of the feet. That's how efficient it is that you can literally walk on hot coals at a quick pace, at a brisk pace. So what does that mean? That means that the body is really, really, really good if you shine infrared or energy down there. It's taking that energy through the blood, okay, to the rest of the body, upwards. So, I personally think floor might be a little better if you had to pick. And I'm only bringing that up just from just to further kind of talk about how there's just nothing like as super special as they want you to believe about shining infrared on your calf per se. Okay. Now don't get me wrong, like if you are a person, by the way, that has like some major calf issues or tight issues, you should probably choose a sauna that has, a calf heater, obviously. But as long as you're getting like a ceramic or you're getting a carbon or something behind your calf, it's pretty much going to do about the same things. Again, like these sort of benefits right here on the calf, that they're saying really is like the strength of mid-infrared. That is not really backed up by anything in terms of research. Okay. Let's see. Okay, okay. Let me just read this real quick here. All right. So again, this is just a little confusing here. So if you do read this, and you can pause the video just to read it. Popular uses for mid-infrared light therapy is to help promote weight loss. This is because as the body works to cool itself down, blah, 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 explains all this metabolic exercise. All right, so that's really, really confusing because the main mechanisms for weight loss are, if you look at all sauna research, so traditional saunas and infrared saunas, the main mechanisms for weight loss, which is, by the way, very well substantiated with research, and again, kind of like a little bit of an alternative to exercise, and does have some overlapping benefits with exercise. But weight loss can happen in any type of sauna, period. And it has more to do with simply heating or raising your core body temperature. And if you raise it for long enough, okay, and depending on how high you raise it, like how many degrees, you will have varying degrees, I guess, pun intended, varying degrees of weight loss, okay, caloric burn, but there's also a lot of hormonal metabolic adaptation, okay, to any type of sauna, okay? So it's just, so it's confusing, right? So what they're stating here, this is all true for any type of sauna, okay? For any type of sauna. But the way they phrase it here, because they're trying to convince you that mid-infrared sauna therapy is like something unique that will give you these benefits, and here's how it works. But that's just how literally any sauna works. Anytime you raise your core metabolism, your core thermal body temperature, okay, thermogenesis, all right? But again, they're trying to convince you that this is only in the mid-infrared, does all this stuff if you want to lose weight. In other words, the reason they're writing this right here, is because they're hoping that somebody that wants to lose a little weight, which probably if you're listening to me, just statistically, you're thinking, oh, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't mind losing a little extra weight. Well, there you go. They already hooked you, right? They already got you. You're like, oh, I need this. I need the mid-infrared. I want to burn some calories and lose weight, okay? That's how this, it's just marketing, okay? So this whole special mechanism here and how you're losing weight, apparently all of that is going to magically happen by throwing one of these ceramic heating elements behind your calf. Amazing, right? Who knew it was so simple? Who knew? Yeah. Anyways, so I don't think I really need to say much more about that. Now I could even, let's just back it up here for a second. So we're gonna go now and we're gonna click on near infrared, and we're gonna see what's so special about near infrared. True. Okay, that's definitely true. That's science. And again, remember there's that link below in the description. It's a little techie, it's a little heady, but it does cover all this. So 700 to 1400 nanometers is absolutely the near infrared range. Okay, so they say here that near infrared feels hot because it does not penetrate deeply into the body. Okay, otherwise magnifying the energy in the skin. That's technically true. It will basically go down a few millimeters. Okay, anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 is most common. But again, if you look at that article and all the summation of research, there is also research out there that's finding larger depths as well. So, to be perfectly honest about the research, there's studies that show superficial, few millimeters, okay, and there's studies that show much, much deeper. So it's very confusing. It really is. Some are calculated by mathematical formulations and what you find inside the skin and the dermis and the epidermis, and trying to make calculations on how the light travels. Some are using cadavers, dead people, and shining light through. Anyway, so basic. I'm just kind of like showing you just like literally how statements can be so easily thrown around, and it's not always as straightforward as you think. The reason that they're thrown around and stated to be so in such a simple fashion that may not really be accurate is so you don't have more questions in your mind, right? Because the more questions you have in your mind, it's less likely that a sale will happen. You know, I've studied sales for a long time, so like I get how this kind of psychology of sales works. So you never want to confuse the prospect or the customer. But really, near-infrared feels hot because it does not penetrate deep into the body. So this is true and not true. Okay, and there is a lot of variables depending on how you can get a greater depth of penetration, depending on what the setup is, basically, what the source is of that near-infrared. Okay, but I will say partly that is true because the skin has adapted to the sun, okay, infrared spectrum, and it does try to defend itself, right? It tries to reflect as much of that energy as it can and do other defensive measures so you don't basically get horrible skin damage and die. Okay, so basically you have evolved to be a little more defensive to the sun's near infrared. Okay. As far as the crucial role in ATP production, because you might be thinking like, oh my god, ATP means more energy, and I'm always tired, and I want more energy. Okay, hold your horses. All right, hold up. So that information comes out of photobiomodulation, the 5,000 plus studies. But when they were looking at ATP production in cells in the body, which is, by the way, absolutely true, they were using lasers and LEDs. Lasers and LEDs. Okay, everybody knows what that is. Okay, so let's take a look at what the sauna is, though. Okay, so the near infrared, okay, you can't see in these photos, so I'm going to have to show you a different photo so you can see the near infrared. Anyways, let me just finish the point. Yeah, you need LEDs or lasers, and that is, and in those research studies, by the way, to see the effects of producing more ATP in the mitochondria, they were also researching specific nanometer wavelengths, one at a time. So they might have had a laser or an LED, okay, imagine that, and it was set to 810 nanometer. What about this whole range of near? No, nope, not a range. It was set specifically 810 nanometer or 940 nanometer or 850 nanometer. These are some of the most common ones, by the way, in the research. Okay, so they were set for specific ones and produced the measurable outcome of this. Okay, that's important. And also, again, that it was a laser and LED. Okay, so if you want this, more energy, and by the way, there's many other benefits to near infrared, okay, out of those studies with lasers and LEDs. Many very impressive health benefits and all kinds of effects in the body. Okay, many sauna companies that have near infrared, I'm going to explain that in a second, but that are not using LEDs and lasers, they will claim those benefits. That's what you're seeing right here. Critical role in ATP production in cells. Okay, again, they're making a claim from something that really comes out of using a specific one wavelength at a time with a laser and LED. Okay, just to be clear. So you say, Alex, if I get this sauna, right, or whatever, another sauna, and it has this other type of heater that they're saying, it's like 700, they got this range of near infrared, you know, will it do this for me? I don't know. That's my answer. Okay, I don't know. The sauna company doesn't know. Okay. But if you actually do want those photobiomodulation benefits, I absolutely give you 100% an answer as far as how you would get those. But you have to basically use an LED or laser, and I've looked at and researched all of those devices as well. So yeah, you can absolutely get those great near infrared benefits that are talked about in all those studies. But that's the type of other sort of equipment that you would use. Okay, there is one company, Sunlight, that uses LEDs on the walls, by the way. So I just wanted to share that. So let's look inside the sauna here. Okay. So what is this on the wall here? So basically, you see the carbon heaters here on the wall. So those, we all know what those are. Okay. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Hold on, guys. Let me pull up a better photo. All right, we're back. So I figured it out. Just had to scroll down. Okay. So let's talk about that near, right? Where did that near infrared come from? Okay, so we got the carbon heating elements, okay, in here. And then we have the alloy heating elements. Okay, you see that right there? Okay, so those alloy heating elements, that's also known in the industry as a tube and colloy rod. Okay, tube and colloy rod. I won't get too technical on them, but they're very high wattage, high heat. So if you look at the temperature of those get to the amount of degrees necessary to produce more mid-range and near-infrared. In other words, so the hotter something gets, the hotter the surface temperature, okay, the high watt density, the shorter the wavelength is. So it starts to head towards more mid and more near-infrared. Okay, that's all you need to know. And the cooler surface temperature, like with the carbon, which is around like 185 degrees, whatever, more or less surface temperature, that that is going to produce a little bit more of that energy is going to be in longer wave. Again, it still technically produces some mid and a little tiny bit of near, but it's more of it in the longer range. Okay, so where are they putting these additional sort of heaters? Again, make it the quote unquote hybrid. Okay, the mid infrared. They're putting them right here. See that? Right on the front doors. Okay. Now, as we scroll down, why did they put them there? Okay. So this alloy heating element assists in recovery of chronic shin splints, knee and leg surgeries, and other lower extremity ailments. All right. So, sorry, I got to laugh a little bit. Because, like, from a sales perspective, if you've read that and you're like, okay, that's interesting, but Alex, I am not recovering from chronic shin splints or a knee issue, or I did not have any leg surgeries, and for the most part, I don't really have any lower extremity ailments from like my knee down. So, if you don't fit into this category, which is probably the majority, yeah, I mean, then you're thinking like, okay, well, do I need those, right? I probably wouldn't have framed it that way, but that's the way they went. However, that is I think that's this is all, I feel this actually to be very honest, because if you had a chance to test this sauna out, and you were sitting there, that you absolutely do feel that heat, that infrared heat, on those areas of the front of your legs. So I mean, that's a very like accurate statement. If somebody did actually have some of those conditions, it might be a little soothing and might support them. I mean so that's fair. It's a fair statement. But if you tried that sauna, that's exactly where you would feel that heat. Okay, and that's where you'll feel the majority of it. Okay, now where your upper torso is, you're sitting back here on the back wall, you're leaning back, right? Or maybe on the side wall, sideways. You're leaning back. Generally, because these are lower down on the sauna and your torso is in the upper part of the sauna, and you're also leaning back and you're far away from these, the main part of your body, the main surface area, which is obviously your whole front torso, which is obviously the whole back side, you're going to get a lot of, from the carbon, you get a lot of infrared back there, far infrared, mid, a little bit of mid. And then on the front side, that's not really going to get much of that front area because it's a bit of a distance from you, and again, it's lower down on the wall. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of point that out. That's where it's positioned, and again, mainly, that's where you're going to feel it most, on the front from your knee down. Okay, so let's back up a second, though. Okay, remember when we were talking about mid-infrared energy and some of those health claims they were making on the other page? Remember? And they put that mid-infrared heater, they put it behind the calf. Do you remember it? And the other one? Right. So putting it behind the calves, okay? And then now they're saying, well, here it is on the front walls, okay? And it's different, obviously, slightly different model. But here we are now putting it on the front walls for this. It's a little all over the place as far as what this thing can do. Now, here we are again talking about how they do have this type of heater behind the calves, okay? And it's going to help with lactic acid reduction and increased circulation, okay? And it's actually a little bit different. It's a different bit of a heating element, just to be clear. Okay, behind the calves. So once again, lactic acid reduction, increase of circulation. You can do it on the bottom of the feet. You can do it behind the calves. You can do it on the walls. Okay, and in terms of this benefit right here, it's not going to be any more specially achieved with a graphene heating element. That's just not. And if you think, well, Alex, I know you know a lot of the research and blah, blah, blah. All you got to do is just message the company. That's it. And say, hey, lactic acid could be everywhere. It's everywhere in the body. Okay. And there's actually a lot of health benefits to it, by the way. So on its face right here on the statement, this is not necessarily a benefit, by the way. Lactic acid production in course of like exercise, for example, is extremely beneficial to the body. Not a bad thing. So first off, their information about what it really is very dated. Okay, they don't really understand. But that's one point. The other is, if we like assume that it's not a great thing and it's a good thing to reduce it, let's just imagine that for a second, if that was still true. You can just ask them, like, where's the research? It's saying this specific graphene heating element is going to do a better job to increase circulation and lactic acid reduction behind the calves versus shining it elsewhere on the body, or versus carbon heaters shining on the majority of your surface area of your body, right? Your whole front side and your whole back side, right? And maybe a little bit of your sides as well, of your torso. Do you see what I'm saying? You really kind of have to pick it apart. And then the question is, like, if you're already getting so much infrared on the rest of your body, is it really going to make much of a difference to get a tiny bit more on the backside of your calves? So here's the thing. After 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're thinking, I feel like I want to get out of the sauna. Why? Because you're getting so much infrared saturation in your body. Your body's like, okay, I'm sweating a lot. I think it's about time to get out. You're getting enough infrared. So do you think getting a little bit more on your calf when you're still going to get out of the sauna after 20, 30 minutes, do you think adding a little bit more to your calf matters? We know it doesn't matter. Or it's something marginal that would be tough to even prove, because I just explained that it's a photochemical response when infrared rays penetrate the body. They have an effect on cells, okay? And you have a circulation, you have a circulatory system, okay? So when you're getting all those infrared rays on the rest of your body, or in the majority of like your torso, which is the greatest area, surface area, you're getting all those changes that is now circulating through your entire body. And where does that circulation go? It goes to your calves, doesn't it? Right? Or your feet. Maybe there's a heater in your feet with the sauna. You get the point? So just adding like a little bit more there, it's marginal. It's marginal. You have a circulatory system. You're getting plenty of infrared elsewhere in the body. Okay? But again, it's just kind of how it's all laid out here, that DC, you're kind of like starting to get a little more discerning and really kind of picking apart this stuff. And by the way, I always encourage people just to ask questions to companies, and some of the fastest ways to get to the root of things is just asking direct questions and then realizing that you're not really getting very clear answers. That's all. All right, so carbon elements are placed around the back, feet, and ankles. Okay, so there you go. So why are they putting them on their feet? See, so that'd be a question to ask. Why do you put infrared under your feet, right? Why do you put it around the ankles? See that right there? Okay. How come you have a carbon heater here, but you use this alloy heating element right here, tube incloy? How come you use that on the back right here in the other sauna? You use a different one back there, okay? So you're saying that the claims of using this type of heating element behind the calves, the graphene, using that behind the calves is going to be better than having the carbons right back here that you have right here? So you're using you're using something inferior right here, right? See what I'm saying? So you can just keep asking questions like that, and then you realize you won't get answers. You won't get like a specific answer back to that. If you do, and you're confused by the answer, just email it to me. That's all you got to do, no worries. So any company, anytime you get any sort of answer or data or whatever, just send it to me. Not a big deal. Don't worry about it. And I'll give you my opinion on what they're actually saying. And I'll give you feedback, a second opinion. Okay? That way, because that's a whole other area of confusion when you start to have a conversation, obviously, with the sales rep. And they might send you and email you all kinds of information, which makes your head spin. So, and there might be some good info for me to make a video about. So, yeah, please email it my way, whatever you got. Okay? So, it's a long-winded video because it's a lot to really kind of like pick apart all these things and just to kind of like ask questions and kind of make you. Anyway, so we'll move on here. Okay, so chromotherapy lighting, just because it's on the page, I might as well touch on it. There absolutely is some research with colors that are going into your eyes having an effect on your brain and your nervous system. And that's kind of goes through the nervous system, has effects. It can. Many sauna companies do have it. Some people do like that. Getting chromotherapy in your room is really good at nighttime, shining on the walls, or wearing different colored glasses. But I will say that if you really want to get the best benefits out of this, really you want to do more like health assessments that can tell you what sort of colors might be good for you to work with. If you are curious about that, you can reach out to me. I do have a way of doing assessments, and I can kind of guide you to like different like colored lens glasses that you might want to wear for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, a couple different times a day, things like that. And if you're consistent with that, then yes, sometimes you can get like certain sort of benefits and certain sort of effects. But cycling through the colors like this, I don't know. It might do something, it might not, but it's good if you can to be very precise and specific, and like for your entire session, know if you're going to work with one specific color or two specific colors. That would be important, or that's really how you get the maximum benefits from chromotherapy lighting. I was just clicking here just to see if they wanted to explain the true full spectrum again here, but they don't. Okay, so cool, got it. All right, nothing else down here that we really want to contact on. So again, any sauna, by the way, will give you a passive cardio workout, just FYI. There has been some good research on the cardiovascular system with far infrared carbon saunas. Okay, just with your average carbon panel heaters, there's been some good cardio research and cardio studies. Okay, the reason I'm saying that, by the way, is just because back on the mid-range heater conversation, and then kind of talking about like cardiovascular and things like that, and it's a little confusing. But when we really get into the research, then we'll see like, oh, okay, actually, really, they were just using carbon heaters in those studies to get those cardiovascular benefits. And again, just to be clear, you can for sure get good cardiovascular benefits as well from a traditional sauna. If you're saying, Alex, what do I do, traditional or infrared? Well, infrared saunas will give you the same effects as a traditional sauna, but infrared rays do give you some additional benefits. Okay, definitely there's a lot of information out there. So I usually say definitely go with an infrared if you can versus a traditional. Okay, and the last thing I will say on that topic is the reason that is the case, that an infrared can give you the same effects as a traditional, is that at the end of the day, if you're sitting in a cabin that's 190 degrees, or you're sitting in an infrared sauna comfortably at 130 degrees or 140 degrees or even 150 degrees or whatever, it's lower temp. If you're sitting in a cooler infrared sauna, what matters is your core body temperature. Okay, so if you were like 2 degrees hotter than say 98.6 degrees, let's just use that, and say you're 100 degrees, 100.6, okay? That's your core body temperature now, after being in there 20, 30 minutes or whatever, okay? What's the difference in being 100 degrees core body temperature in an infrared sauna versus 100 degrees core body, so the same core body temperature, inside of a traditional sauna? What's the difference? Well, the difference is the traditional sauna is hotter, okay, in the room temp, but your core body temp can be the same. Does that make sense? So at the end of the day, one conversation too is going to be around, the debate is around what is going to efficiently raise your core body temperature. Well, technically, infrared rays and infrared heaters, your infrared, especially in a certain spectrum, especially, so basically these spectrums that you get in infrared saunas commonly, those convert the energy in. They actually go through the dermis and epidermis, right? We all know this. It penetrates a little bit, just a little bit, but it's basically sending that heat deeper into tissues versus going into a hot room, say 190 degrees or 180 degrees, traditional sauna. If that room is hot air, so the air is hot, that takes longer. It takes longer for that heat in the air to penetrate in and get that hot energy into the blood, for example, or into the skin. Does that make sense? So hotter air is not as efficient at getting that heat into the body. Okay. And I guess another analogy is like, you know how hot you are, right, when you're sitting in the sun, direct sunlight, and it's also a hot temperature outside. And then what happens when you go into the shade and it's also still a hot day? I mean, you could probably easily, if you had to deal with it, be in the shade for hours, right? We've all done this. But being in the sun for hours in that same hot temp, potentially you have a health problem, right? And it may not take that long. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's like a perfect example. So when you get back in that direct sunlight, what really, in that hot air, it's that near infrared, and there's other infrared or spectrum as well, not just near infrared, but it's really the infrared rays that are going to be penetrating and really getting you hot from the inside out. So I just wanted to share that, just because that's such a common question and something a lot of people wonder about with traditional saunas. So I think we kind of thoroughly covered this. It's a hybrid because of these unique heaters in the sauna. And when it comes to, oh, by the way, these here also in the sauna, in this photo I didn't show you, these are also heaters right here. You see those? Okay. I'm sorry. No, wait, not in this model. Sorry, not in this model. I thought this was something else for a second. These are just the side windows. So there are some heaters that look, they have like a black glass to them on top of them. I'll show you in another video. But anyways, those are just windows, false alarm. But those down there, those are those heaters that hit the front of your cabs or whatever. Now, if you wanted to, my last critique of those heating elements, these guys right here, okay, is personally, what I would have done is, if you really wanted to get more of the body to get more of that energy from this type of heater, you would at least want to do two options. One, excuse me, is put them on the sidewalls here. Okay, so imagine you're sitting here, right here. Okay, you're sitting there facing forward, but then you got this high heater right there. You see what I mean? Right there. And now further, what I would have done is I would have actually angled the heater on that sidewall a little bit at an angle, just a little bit towards where the body would be. Doesn't that make sense? You see what I'm saying? Which would be even better than just flat on the wall shooting out, okay, versus down here. Okay, that would have been better. So the last thing I'll show you, just to actually hit it totally home here, because the positions of the emitters also does matter, okay? So to hit it home with my point that I just made, I'm going to actually show you a sauna that properly, optimally positions a heater very similar to this one. So bear with me a second. Okay, here we are on Sunlight and Saunas webpage. If you need a good price on this brand, by the way, too, again, just like any brand, you can just reach out and I can give you a quote. Anyways, so what did I tell you? We're going to actually see how you can use these higher wattage heaters, like in the other sauna, but properly design it, okay? It's pretty fun turning this around. Oh my god, it's like the most fun thing ever. Alright, so let me scroll inside here. Okay, so here you are. I love this photo, isn't it great? So here you are sitting on the bench right now, okay, inside of the sauna. You look to your right, you look to the left, what do you see? Right? Makes sense, doesn't it? So look at this thing. It's huge. So remember, this is as if you're sitting down right now. Look at this thing. Do I need to even explain this? Right? It's you know what I'm saying? That especially when you go back over here, right? So that's the wrong page. Oh, we're already gone. But anyways, you remember versus having on like way down there, right? Hitting your calves and your knees because you have all these shin and knee problems apparently. Okay, so so it's angled, right? So it's not even. So there is another like couple saunas right out there that use something that's similar to this heating technology, similar, not exact, that they put right here. Okay, right down there on the side on that wood. You see that right there? And it's like it's like straight on. Okay, straight on. So let me see my battery powder. Okay. So even that design in those other couple ones that you see, that's still not as good. One is there's other couple options out there brand wise. They're lower down the wall once again, which is not as optimum for the reasons we've already spoken about. This one is very tall, so you're getting, again, the front of your legs, obviously, and then it's extending upwards, and you're getting some of your torso as well. Okay, you're also getting actually, depending on where you are on that bench, you're getting even some of the sides of your legs, like your quadriceps, which is great. That's really good. You got a lot of blood going there, so a lot of muscle. So you're getting that. So it's tall. Okay, that's the most important thing here, and then it's angled as well. Okay, towards you, right? You're the center of attention. That's why it should be angled. So again, you'll come across, if you do enough digging, some other brands in there, and you'll see, yeah, oh my God, Alex, it was lower down, and it was just facing straight, okay, versus at an angle. So that means that if there's two people in a sauna, yeah, anyways, I think I've over-explained it to death. But that's, yeah, it's a really good angle on it. I'm just trying to see if they have any other cool photos or anything here. So the other benefit, by the way, of having these higher watt heaters, okay, is that they do actually much more efficiently warm the cabin temperature. So you do have for sure a much faster warm-up time of the sauna. So if that is something important to you, that is one nice benefit of these types of, let's just say, higher wattage heaters that are producing a little bit more near and mid, okay, because it's hotter. Definitely faster warm-up times. So yeah, something to consider. And then in this sauna, you can see it goes up to 165 degrees. There's only really very few infrared saunas out there that get to this hot of a temperature. So also, if you just want a little bit of a hotter infrared sauna than 140 degrees, which is most common, that's another reason why heaters like this can be nice. Some people like that. One last thing I will say on this is that you can actually, in this model, you can actually shut off, you can turn these guys off right here. Pretty cool, right? So it's the only one in the industry where you can actually turn these types of heaters down or off completely. And then you would just be experiencing what? You'd be experiencing the infrared panels, which technically, according to the patents and third-party tests, have the highest emissivity in the industry at 99% emissivity. That's basically a rating so that you can third-party compare the specification ratings of other carbon panels, and you can see which one's basically the most efficient for producing certain peak wavelengths of infrared. I won't get too technical. Anyways, you know me. I have my long-winded videos, but you know, this is what it really takes, and not a lot of people are committed to kind of breaking things down like this. So you can reach out to me anytime. You know what to do. You got my email. And just one last thing I'll say, you know, a lot of people have all these Black Friday, Black Friday sales, Memorial Day sales, all these different sales. You know, I just offer great pricing all the time. I just don't really like play all the games of just, you know, getting people to buy at a certain time. So you never have any pressure like that too with various brands. So if you just want a good price anytime, I'm always happy to give it to you. Anyways, that's it for now. If you have questions, you know what to do. Thanks for watching.